embarrassing, illogical, but beautiful journey of becoming me. Namaskar, I am Meghna Mittal. Yes, I am a finance journalist. I write on government policies. I regularly interact with the Finance Minister of India and bump into the top bureaucrats of the country in the corridors of power. I meet the who's who of the economists, the industrialists, the businesses, and I attend the boring conferences in five-star hotels. Imagine breakfast at Taj, lunch at the Oberoi, and dinner at the Meridian. Very tough. Are you impressed? But let me remind you, my life has been a series of comedy of embarrassments. To start with, the reason itself why I chose journalism is the peak of embarrassment, which not even my family knows of. And today, after this talk, I'm going to get into serious trouble. But let me first start with the fact that my family, the children come only in two modes. One is the doctor and one is the engineer. But my life had a twist. I scored 76% in 10th, 71 in 12th, 66% in graduation, and in master's first year I entered second division. So my graph was cliff diving. So in fact, my relatives started whispering to my parents that iska kuch nahi hoga, iski to shaadi karwa do, koi career nahi. So that in fact gave me a freedom, and I decided to take arts in graduation, which almost gave a heart attack to my parents. But once I decided to do arts, I was a free bird. I dabbled into everything. From debating to elocution, to dancing, choreography, group discussion, essay writing, badminton, you name it. And I ended up winning the state level badminton championship. I ended up doing graduation in Kathak, and I ended up winning lots of awards in debating, elocution, group discussion, everything. But there is one incident I'll share with you, which I go back even today. Every time I have a colossal challenge ahead of me, I always remember that incident. My first debating performance, I go up on the stage and I see a swarm of faces staring at me, and each with a pair of eyes, so somehow that seemed like a double stare at me, and I forgot all my lines. My voice trembled, I just mumbled a few words, said thank you, ran down the stage, and burst out into a howl, crying. It was total humiliation. But I didn't quit. Next year, same stage, same set of people, same girl who had won the prize the previous year. I defeated her to lift the trophy in the debating competition. That made me realize one thing. I'm like the phoenix who can rise from the ashes. So that built a lot of confidence in me, but I didn't know what to do now further. So now comes the fact why I wanted to do journalism. I somewhere read that Shah Rukh Khan had done mass communication from Jamia. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is the reason why I wanted to do journalism. I don't know, I was young and maybe I wanted to create some kind of cosmic connection. In fact, even Shah Rukh would be embarrassed to hear that he inspired somebody to become a journalist, which he himself never became. So I didn't obviously tell the reason to my parents, and I told my parents I want to do mass communications, and they said no. And they put me into masters in economics, plus enrolled me into civil services. So my father is into Indian Railway Services through UPSC. So he said, okay, if not doctor, not engineer, at least follow my footsteps and become a civil servant. So I used to sit in the civil services coaching and glare at the blackboard, which nothing made sense. And I used to just wait for the classes to get over. And in masters, in fact, my first time in my life, I entered in the first year, I entered the second division. But another instant that I wanted to share, look at my confidence. There was a very good national level company that came for campus placement, And it had clearly said that only first divisioners could apply. And I had got a second division in the first year. But I said, why not? And I applied, I cleared the entrance exam, and I led the group discussion. In fact, I was the one to be called for the final round of interview in Mumbai. And there were only 2 people that got called, the topper of my batch plus me. I still remember the disbelief on the face of my professor when he was told that only 2 people have been called for the final round of interview, the topper plus myself. Though that's a different story, that none of us got the job finally, but still, it again boosted my confidence, showed that yes, I can rise from the ashes. So after the second year, I gave all the exams from bank, PO, to civil services, UPSC, state services, all the exams, and I failed them all. So my father finally was like, "Beta, tumhe jo karna hai karo." So again, I became a free bird. And with pressure lifted off me, and I flew straight to mass communications. And I remember after the first semester, my HOD came to me and said, "Where were you till now?" And that day, I realized I had found my fit. And I used to win all the debating competitions, elocutions. I used to be invited to speak at all the events of the college. And that obviously annoyed all the female students of my batch, you know why. In fact, I still remember one of the girls, after I had won the debating competition, she came to me and asked on my face, "Do you think you deserve this award, or is it pure bias?" And in all my naivety, I said, "Yeah, you're right." And maybe the time gives the most befitting replies. I went on to win the silver medal in college. I got chosen into Times of India through campus placement, and I was the only student from my college to clear the All India Press Trust of India exam. So I'm thinking that, okay, now there was no looking back. Think again, because after a few years, it so happened, I had to start my career from scratch. Yes, from zero. And I worked hard day and night. Why I'm saying night? Because even in the night, in my sleep, I used to mumble the stories that I was working on. And brick by brick, story by story, year by year, I built myself. And every time I used to pass a temple, I used to pray only one thing to God. That God, please help me work very, very hard. Make me work very, very hard. And over the years then, I am here in front of you today. And yes, I interacted with the former Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, former Minister, Mr. Suresh Prabhu. Yes, I do often interact with the current Finance Minister, Ms. Sitaraman, from the other top ministers like Mr. Piyush Goyal. I do interact with them often. In fact, after one of such many interactions, I remember, I was in the Finance Ministry in a corner sitting, writing a story in a rush. You know how it is in media, you have to quickly write the stories. And Mrs. Sitaraman came to me and said, "Meghna, why are you sitting in a corner and writing? You will spoil your eyes. Please go and sit in the conference room and write." So such humane incidents do happen from time to time. And I have built today where I am standing here. So one thing that I have learned from my life is that nobody told me that we need the media as much as they need us, because media is the fourth pillar of democracy. And my life mantra has been that don't get ensconced in your shell of comfort. Throw yourself out in the river and you will swim. You will learn to swim and you will cross that high tide of life. And you will rise like a phoenix from the ashes again and again and again. So the few lines that I always remember while I go on my path is that lives of all great men remind us that we can make our lives sublime, and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sands of time. Because while woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Thank you very much.